now I started watching the show, and then I was like, I kind of had an epiphany where I was like, okay, there really is no good evidence for God.
Okay.
But
you still believe, right? Like, you're still a believer. They've got you listed as a theist.
Slight.
Okay.
Like a 10%. Because it's like, I was like really taught that exorcisms were like a real thing, like possession, demonic possession is like real.
Yeah, they're bullshit.
And so, and I'm like, okay, so now I'm going to be possessed if I'm atheist.
Yeah.
So I guess
has it happened? So why don't you just test it, right? Like if you get possessed and they have to exorcise you, then when it's done, you can always go back to believing. Right?
Oh, yeah, good point, yeah.
So go ahead, become an atheist. Yeah, choose not to believe. No, exorcism is a fun one for me because I took a lot of anthropology when I was in college, and I actually got to see footage of an exorcism, like a tribal exorcism. And we had an interesting thing that we did, right? So when we were studying this aspect of anthropology, it was, I think, in religious anthropology, cultures of religion. We had to read the field study. So we read the field report of the exorcism, basically the anthropologist describing what they saw. And it was unbelievable. Like, I could not wait to see the video footage because I was just like, this is, they described levitation. They described, things that you were just like, wow, this is right out of the movie, right?
Yeah.
And I watched the video, and the thing that got me, I think that sticks in my head the most, was that I was so excited to see what this levitation was, right? Like, I wanted to see a person levitate at one of these ceremonies because I was just like, how does that even work, right? So when I saw the video of the exorcism that they witnessed that was involved in the write-up, the levitation was just an arc. Now, it was an impressive acrobatic arc. I'll give you that. The kid had their head on the ground and they had their heels on the ground, and the rest of the entire body was arced off the ground. But that's not what I think of when I think of levitation, right? And what's interesting is when you read field reports of exorcism, that actually is accepted as when someone uses the term levitation, this is what they mean by it, right? And people in the field understand that. People that are in the field of anthropology know that when someone is describing a levitation, this is kind of what they mean.
So it's like a reverse downward dog.
Right, yeah. So, it was funny the way that, so when you hear a description of an exorcism versus like what you actually see, it's kind of different. Right? It's a lot less impressive when you're looking at it. And I imagine also that when you're actually there during the ceremony, it's probably even more sort of, you get that creepy vibe, right? Like, I'm not saying creepy in a supernatural sense, but it's like there's a reason that they do the drums, and there's a reason that they they burn the stuff and they smoke the room, and there's a reason you do all these things to sort of, be distracting and get those senses kind of going. And this adds to the experience of it all, right? That ritual aspect really adds to it. That's why you see so much ritual around certain things. And so, I think the best solution, I guess, to somebody who is just like, is exorcism real, is to just go watch a bunch of videos on real exorcisms, because you're not going to see anything impressive.
Yeah, I think I guess I just have like a hard time like explaining it other than supernatural, because that's kind of, how I was indoctrinated. But it's like, how are they doing that? Or like, why are they acting so weird like that?
Well, some of the
I don't know. Do you think it's like mental?
Yeah, some of the people that have had exorcisms performed on them are actually severely mentally ill.
Yeah.
And
in tribal situations, though, sometimes it's just like a stress thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like somebody is going through their life and then something happens and it stresses them, or they have this kind of break. And so they start acting weird, and then they go into the ceremony and they just start acting weirder and weirder, right? Because you've got this whole thing going on and there's all this big expectation. But then at the end of it, they kind of snap and then everything's fine again, right? And they might go have an exorcism, a couple times in their life to kind of deal with it's sort of just like, I guess, going for a massage, right?
Yeah.
But... this is culturally how they deal with it, and this is sort of how it's expected to be.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is that there's. Are you familiar with speaking in tongues?
Yes.
Okay. So the people.
I'm from the South.
Yeah. So there's a lot of people who have grown up in the Pentecostal church who've experienced this whole speaking in tongues, and they claim that they're possessed by the Holy Spirit, and that's why they speak in tongues. It's actually a learned behavior. And so if you grow up in this environment and this is an expectation of you, you learn how to do this.
And there are atheists that can still do it.
Right. Yeah. Jerry DeWitt can still do it.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I wouldn't discount that as a possibility in some of these cases as well. You know, they've been told that you're possessed by a demon or whatever, and, you know, they have some idea of what's expected of them at this exorcism, and they deliver.
I mean, is there something specific about an exorcism? Is it that you've seen that you think, like, wow, no human being could do this?
I guess for me, like when I've done like some research about it, like about the priest, like some priests dying. I mean, I don't have any like specific, sources,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
I've
I'm
read a lot
sure
of
you
things about,
don't.
like,
And there's a reason for
No.
that. Yeah. I mean, it's not. I'm not mocking you here, but
It's
it's
not
like,
peer
yeah.
reviewed.
The thing is, go and look at these videos, especially the cultural ones, like the anthropologists that have recorded them. Like, go and look up, like, cultural, like African exorcism, or not necessarily the modern Christian version, right? But like the
right.
And just get a look at what it looks like. And it's not, it's like interesting to watch, but it's not, you get done and you're just sort of like, oh, okay. And you understand why this is not, why no anthropologists are running away saying, oh my God, demons are real. Right?
Right. It's not extraordinary.
Yeah. They're just writing their notes and putting that into a journal.
Okay. And I just have one more thing.
Sure.
So, I've been kind of like questioning the beliefs of my parents, and my parents are very conservative. So I kind of was talking to my mom about it, and instead of saying, like, I'm thinking about being atheist, I'm just kind of like, that whole thing about, God sacrificing himself, from, himself, or, you know what I'm saying?
To himself,
And
for,
my mom's like,
yeah.
Yeah. And she was like, oh, Samantha, no, I think you're confused. You're not atheist. You're just confused.
Yeah. I'm
So it's like
confused
when I
apparently
talk to them
about,
about-
how the Jews proved God. I'm confused on that point.
He was interesting. And so when I talked to my dad about it, he's very pro-life. And, I kind of bring up things like, I don't really think that, we should be able to tell women what to do with their bodies. And then he'll just be like, well, don't talk to me about that unless you want to piss me off. So it's like, yeah, really pleasant. So do you think that I should just like
Piss him off?
avoid conversation? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I guess.
No, I think
I'm
it's
good
up
at
to
it.
you. I mean, if your dad just gets pissed off and then he just rails and he can't hear you, there's just no point. Like, why subject yourself to that,
Right.
If you could have a conversation, I would say, yeah, go for it. But when you're dealing with somebody who literally at the outset says, I'm just going to get pissed at you, if we try to even have a conversation about it, I would say that's kind of close. You're looking at somebody that's probably not open-minded, right, to say the least. So
Definitely.
don't put yourself through it. If the person tells you right off the bat, I can't talk about it, then they can't talk about it. Believe them, right?
Right.
Yeah. And
Don't push them.
And I would say that if someone is being dismissive of your attempt to reason your way through something by saying, "Oh,
You're
just confused," that's probably not going to be a productive conversation either.
But I mean, the best
Very
thing to
dismissive.
say to that, though, as long as the person's not getting like, volatile, like your dad basically saying, oh, I'm just going to get angry. If somebody's saying you're confused, then it would be a really good thing to say, great, can you help explain it to me?
Yeah. Yeah, if they're open to having a reasonable conversation with you, you can ask them their reasoning behind why they believe something.
Right. I feel like I'm just more like, I'm not very argumentative. So like he talks about a lot of things like, he thinks that there's a correlation between gay men and them being pedophiles.
Well, then next
Like,
time he
if
brings
you-
that up, say, hey, if you're going to bring this up, you're just going to piss me off.
Yeah. You're just going to really piss me off, and then we're going to have to argue.
Yeah.
Or just give them stats on the percentages of straight guys that are molesting little girls.
Yeah, and tell them, hey, get back to me when you've taken care of that pedophile priest problem you have.
At your church. Let me
They're
know.
in the South, so he probably thinks the Catholic Church is evil anyway.
Well, no, she
She said he was
raised
Catholic.
I
Oh,
was raised
wow.
Catholic.
In Arkansas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I missed that. That's an
Yes.
important point.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, yeah, then definitely bring up
Minority.
the priests. For sure.
I definitely will.
All right. Well, thanks,
thank you guys
Samantha.
so much for your time.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you. I hope you
Bye-bye.
guys take care.
Bye.
Bye.